Meta struggles to hold AI talent despite Anthropic dominating the retention war. A do-it-yourself robot revolution is offering $500 3D printed robots. GPT-4 level reasoning now can run on a home computer. And a couple of updates on stories you may have forgotten about. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Despite widespread tech layoffs, AI talent commands unprecedented compensation as companies battle for limited expertise. Layoffs continue throughout big tech, with over 22,000 tech workers losing jobs in 2025 after massive cuts in 2023 and 2024. Google exemplifies a new trend, which some are calling layoffs in slow motion, when they announced this week that they're offering voluntary buyouts to employees across multiple divisions. But despite constant reductions, there's one bright spot. Companies are struggling to find people with deep AI expertise. The pay is astonishing, and far from worrying about layoffs, the reverse is true. Companies are struggling to retain AI talent. Meta is offering $2 million salaries, and they aren't enough to stop an AI talent exodus. Venture capitalist Didi Das reported witnessing 3 cases this week of Meta losing researchers to OpenAI and Anthropic despite these eye-watering compensation plans. This bleeding has prompted CEO Mark Zuckerberg to personally recruit a new superintelligence team. Bloomberg reports he's meeting researchers at his homes, driven by frustration with Meta's delayed Llama 4 model and postponed Behemoth release. In what might be one of the highest recruiting costs of all time, Meta is reportedly in talks to invest $15 billion in a company called Scale AI to bring founder Alexander Wang to head their AI team, along with his existing team. As well, they're reportedly offering 7 to 9-figure offers to competitors' researchers. But with only a few thousand people globally capable of building models like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Meta's Llama, culture may matter more than cash. Because apparently winning this war. Signal Fire Research reported that Anthropic leads with 80% retention after 2 years versus Meta's 64%. And in terms of attracting new people, engineers are 8 times more likely to leave OpenAI for Anthropic than the reverse. Anthropic's edge is a unique culture that embraces unconventional thinkers and gives employees true autonomy, the report states, citing flexible work and minimal bureaucracy. It creates a positive feedback loop. Anthropic's Claude has become a developer's favorite, while the company hit $3 billion in annualized revenue, tripling from $1 billion in December. The stakes are massive. CEO Dario Amodei predicts AI could eliminate half of the entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. And for Meta, losing the talent war might mean losing the AI future. The robotics industry is witnessing a David versus Goliath moment as breakthrough 3D printing technologies promise to democratize robot creation, potentially disrupting a market where commercial humanoids now cost between $30,000 to as much as $150,000. While tech giants build sophisticated humanoids for tens of thousands of dollars, researchers at 2 universities may have cracked the code on making robotics accessible to everyone. Scientists at the University of Edinburgh have developed the first soft robots that walk straight out of 3D printers. Their Flex printer system costs just £400, about $500, using off-the-shelf parts, and it allows complete beginners to produce walking robots within days. Meanwhile, Duke University's Text-to-Robot lets anyone design robots simply by typing descriptions, no technical expertise required. The system won the innovation category at the 2024 Virtual Creatures competition and uses AI to manage everything from concept to optimization. This creates a fascinating contrast. Commercial humanoids costs have already dropped by about 40% in recent months, from $50,000 to $250,000 to $30,000 to $150,000 per unit, according to Goldman Sachs. But these do-it-yourself alternatives cost as much as 99% less. In part, it's advancements in printing technology. Lead engineer Max Gepner said, "It used to take years to figure out how to print these things. Using our new platform, anyone can now easily print things which were previously thought to be impossible. This is a game changer for engineers and artists alike." But in addition, these new robotic developers are rethinking every aspect. The Edinburgh robots are powered entirely by compressed air. No electronics needed. They're printed upside down using thermoplastic polyurethane, with gravity helping layers fuse together. Once connected to an air supply, the palm-sized bots can walk off their print bed. The stakes are enormous. The humanoid robot market is projected to reach $38 billion by 2035, with over 250,000 units shipping in 2030. And all the major companies are struggling to get their price point to where more and more companies and even individuals could own one. These do-it-yourself systems are limited, but they could excel at specific applications like nuclear decommissioning or biomedical uses where simplicity could be an advantage. They can't yet match the versatility of commercial humanoids designed for complex industrial tasks. But they do offer a promise of wider accessibility. And both teams have released their designs as open source to further democratize robotics innovation. So, it may be a way off, but this breakthrough could lead to a DeepSeek moment, where large companies that have invested billions find that a competitor comes to market with a much cheaper open source alternative, potentially shifting development from well-funded corporations to classrooms, makerspaces, and small businesses worldwide. And speaking of democratization, OpenAI reportedly spent over $100 million training GPT-4, while DeepSeek built a model, R1, with almost identical performance for just $5.5 million in 55 days. Now, almost anyone could have this model in their own home. Here's the game changer. Thanks to advanced quantization techniques, you can now run this GPT-4 level intelligence locally on hardware costing under $5,000. DeepSeek R1 originally required 715 gigabytes of storage, making it one of the largest open source models available. However, using quantization from Unsloth, the model shrinks to just 162 gigabytes, an 80% reduction, while maintaining near full performance. Quantization has been used in AI before. It's simply a matter of compressing the model to reduce the size, but this is probably one of the biggest leaps that allows these models to be run on almost home computers. The hardware requirements tell the democratization story. You can run DeepSeek R1 with just a single 24 gigabyte GPU like an NVIDIA RTX 4090 and about 128 gigabytes of RAM, and you can achieve about 5 tokens per second. Even more accessible, it runs on CPU-only setups with just 64 gigabytes of RAM, although slower at 1 token per second. And in some ways, it's as good, or maybe at least possibly better in some aspects than other models. According to benchmark tests, DeepSeek's R1 outperforms OpenAI's O1 on AIM math problems, 500-word problems, and on SWE bench programming tasks, some of the most frequent benchmarks out there. Now, if you combine this with some of the new techniques for rapid training, or at least training refinement on AI models, because these open source models come with weightings, it's an extremely powerful development in democratizing AI. It's having a big impact. Hugging Face CEO Clem DeLange reports that developers have created over 500 derivative models of R1 generating 2.5 million downloads, 5 times more than the original weighted model. The power of decentralized open source AI, he noted. There are trade-offs. Running the quantized version locally presents some challenges. Users report needing fast internet connections for the massive downloads, and GPU configuration issues can force CPU-only operation. One developer noted it took the whole day just to get this running, with a 10-minute response time on CPU-only setups. I've spent more time getting our smart TV setup working properly. So it's unlikely that this approach could work with anything but DeepSeek. It uses a mixture of experts architecture with 671 billion parameters, but it only activates 37 billion per query, optimizing for efficiency. The results are impressive. This architectural innovation makes powerful reasoning accessible to small businesses, researchers, and individuals. The numbers tell the story of a shifting landscape. While commercial AI API costs can reach thousands monthly for heavy usage, local deployment offers unlimited use after the initial hardware investment. This democratization extends beyond cost. It provides complete data privacy, and it does offer an alternative to AI as a service controlled by tech giants. And to anyone who doesn't want to get involved with the hardware of this, these same models are going to make AI as a service available almost anywhere, remarkably cheaply. We'll have some updates on this for you on one of our Project Synapse shows in the near future. And a couple of stories that dominated the headlines but have quietly evolved into something far different than their dramatic beginnings. The TikTok ban that keeps not happening. Remember when TikTok was supposedly an urgent national security threat requiring emergency legislation? That was the only thing that was going to allow the Americans to override the constitutional free speech requirements, was an emergency. Well, apparently the U.S. administration just hit the snooze button for the third time, now extending the deadline to June 19th. And when President Trump spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping this week about trade talks, apparently the perfect opportunity to address this existential threat, TikTok didn't come up in the conversation. Former President Biden championed the ban, but refused to enforce it on his way out. President Trump promised to fix everything in 75 days, but extended that deadline when China balked, and now he's apparently extending it again. As TechDirt's Mike Masnick put it, this third extension proves it was always BS. Mike didn't actually say BS, but you may have kids in the room. And the copyright case that could break AI, turns out it might not be the New York Times versus OpenAI. The New York Times suit has taken years just to get to the discovery phase, but the much faster British system has a case unfolding quietly in London's High Court. Getty Images is facing off against Stability AI in what lawyers are calling the most significant AI case to reach the English High Court. Some might not have heard of Getty, but if you're in the publishing or other business where you need licensed images, this company represents creators to commercial users. Once you start to look for it, you'll see Getty Images everywhere. Getty alleges that Stability AI, an early developer of AI images and video, illegally scraped millions of copyrighted images to train its Stable Diffusion model, sometimes even reproducing Getty's watermarks on the generated images. The 3-week trial, which began June 9th, could reshape how AI companies use copyrighted content globally. Stability AI's defense is fascinating. They admit using some Getty images, but argue that the training happened outside the UK, so British copyright law doesn't apply. They also claim that any similarities in generated images are accidental, and that users, not the platform, are responsible for copying. The stakes are massive. As Getty's lawyer Lindsay Lane told the court, it's not a battle between creatives and technology. The problem is when AI companies such as Stability want to use those works without payment. The Getty case represents a real legal precedent that could fundamentally reshape the AI industry and it's happening with minimal fanfare. The judge's decision, expected within months, could determine whether AI companies need permission and payment to use copyrighted material for training, potentially affecting every major AI model. We'll keep you up to date. And that's our show. If you like the podcast, and we assume if you got this far you do, why don't you recommend us to a friend? And we won't judge you if you don't, but we're really trying to up our game, and that costs money. If you want to support us, please consider going to buymeacoffee.com/techpodcast. That's buymeacoffee.com/techpodcast, and buy us a coffee. You can also check us out at technewsday.ca or .com. Take your pick. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to do this. So thanks to you who have supported us. You're wonderful. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a thrilling Thursday.